So we're now going to take a look at another case study, and this is going to demonstrate some other stuff that we haven't talked about yet with respect to RSocket. And we're going to do this in the context of a quotes app case study that supplies backpressure or applies backpressure. And so it's got a couple of other improvements as well that we'll talk about, but basically what it's going to do is it's going to send requests over to the microservice, the quotes app microservice, and that's going to send back responses, but it's going to do it in a way that obeys the backpressure requirements that the client levies on it. So it's got some other things. We've also added some other cool stuff too, and you'll see when we talk about it in more detail. This example also shows how to use the RSocket security and authentication features. Last time when we talked about it, we didn't really talk about that. Now we're going to go into it in more detail. It's pretty cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this app. So what we're going to do is have an RSocket client that's going to make requests. It's going to establish a connection initially with the controller that handles connections. Once it's connected, then it's going to go ahead and send messages to register various things, to subscribe, and then get the results back in a way that honors backpressure. So you'll see that the client can connect initially and then send these requests, and the client will authenticate itself to the server. So it'll identify who it is and give it a login name and a password, and then the server will authenticate it, and then only once it's authenticated will it be allowed to pass messages back and forth. The server, on the other hand, has two different controllers. We haven't really looked at something quite like this yet, but it's pretty easy to do and it's fun. So we have one controller that handles the connection events, and it has a service that responds to that, and it has another controller that handles the messages. And of course, it's going to honor backpressure. The server will also require the client to authenticate itself before the connection is established. This is all done kind of behind the scenes in a very cool way. The Quotes Connect controller is what receives the connection request and then forwards them to the Quote Connect service. Quotes Connect service will go ahead and do some other stuff. It actually takes advantage of the authentication. It doesn't actually perform the authentication. That's done by Spring in the bowels of the Spring infrastructure, but it leverages authenticated client credentials in various ways. The message controller takes the encoded messages that come across in the concise binary object representation and forwards them, after converting them to Java types, to the quote service, quotes message service, and the quote message service then does what it needs to do to respond in a way that's backpressure aware. Here's kind of the layout of things. This is a little different from what we looked at before. This, of course, is found in this repository project. The source main has the server-side classes, and that includes the newly refactored set of multiple controllers and multiple services that we've got here. We still have only one microservice entry point through the quotes application. The common part has the reusable classes that are specific to this project, including an RSocket security module that is specific to this example, but is easy to generalize if you would like to. We have a utils directory that just has one thing that generates random numbers, which we don't actually use in this case. I should probably remove that. And then finally, we have a resources project that has a resources folder that has the server name, port number, and then the quotes from both Zippy the Pinhead and Jack Handey. And I'll show you how we do this. It's really cool. When you subscribe as a client, you indicate what kind of quotes you want, and then the server will only return you quotes for the things that you subscribe to. The test folder contains the client-side classes. The test driver is the one that sets all the wheels in motion. Then the client provides the proxy and a way to connect to the server, including security. It'll establish a secure connection with the server. And then we have this interesting utils folder that's got a blocking subscriber that is backpressure aware. It enables backpressure from the server. So that's basically what we have here from the point of view of the design of the program. Again, the key things that this does that we didn't do before is it shows security. So that's one thing. So you have to authenticate yourself before you can get messages. It also demonstrates backpressure awareness, so you don't have the fast server pummel the poor, slower client, the receiver that can't keep up. And then we also have multiple quote types that are managed through this quote service, that or this quote type that indicates the the mechanisms that we want to do to get back the right type of quotes. So you'll see in a second how all these pieces come together.